All right, let's do our news and notes. We got a lot of Ravens news here. Mark Andrews game time decision. Gus Edwards questionable with a hamstring injury. And Lamar Jackson has an illness, but he's going to start. So let's start with the Mark Andrews likely thing here. If Andrews is out and likely is in, Jamie, likely would be where in your rankings?
He would likely be in the top 10.
Yeah, but we're talking Kmet, Dulcich. Who would he be ahead of? What's the other guy I was thinking of? Oh, Pitts.
Ahead of Pitts, behind the Freiermuth, Dulcich.
Behind that tier. Okay.
Got a lot of faith. Got a lot of faith in Greg Dulcich this week, don't we?
Hashtag Raiders. Hashtag Raiders.
Right.
You know who I didn't talk about on the Friday episode? I totally missed it. It's my bad. Elijah Mitchell. How does Dan? How do you feel about Elijah Mitchell this week against the Cardinals?
You know, they're 8-point favorites. It seems like a good spot based on that. The game script should work in their favor to give him more carries, especially I feel like he'll be that guy down. If they're in a game this season from this point on, the 49ers, where they're up by multiple scores, 14-21, I just have a bad feeling McCaffrey managers are going to be pissed off about those games because I don't see the reason to play him much since they're in playoff contention in those types of game scripts. So this could be that. So I kind of like Mitchell as a flex, but I'm sure we could look back on this on Monday and be like, what are you doing? He had like 3.6 points. He had like 36 yards on 8 carries or something.
How about this Ravens backfield, Jamie, with Gus Edwards? I was almost under the impression that it was a bad, because I knew he had been dealing with an injury, obviously, but is it something new? Is it a setback for Gus or just he has a hamstring injury that we knew about?
The hamstring injury we knew about. That's what he missed. He got hurt.
Yeah, I know. I thought that it may have been a setback. Did I misinterpret that?
I mean, if you're saying that, that's news to me.
Okay.
So
I haven't seen it yet either.
I think what the expectation was that he was hoping the Ravens were hoping he would return after the bye week. I think and we've talked about this a little bit, that they were so cautious with J.K. Dobbins, and it felt like they rushed Gus Edwards back a little bit from right off the PUP list to having a huge workload, that maybe they're going to learn the lesson and not necessarily rush him back to the same level. So it's why, I think you've heard multiple comments from our shows this week that we like Drake better than Edwards, but I think Edwards can still be a potential flex play this week.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I misinterpreted the tweet, which is okay because by the time you're listening to this, Twitter probably won't exist. So, let's see. Ezekiel Elliott is expected to play. We already talked about that. J.D. McKissic unlikely to play. Corey Davis is out. Juju Smith-Schuster is out. And David Njoku is questionable.
He says he's playing.
Yeah, he said that last week, kind of.
I'm really interested. I'm really interested to see how this Chiefs game unfolds and how the Chiefs offense unfolds without Juju Smith-Schuster in there now. And obviously, McCole Hardman placed on IR earlier. The expectation is it's Tony time, Kadarius Toney time, but he did just join that team a few weeks ago. I'm not so sure we're going to see him 100% assume the McCole Hardman role or play like an incredible amount of snaps. I'm almost wondering if this is a really good spot potentially for Marquez Valdes-Scantling, though. That's another player that I feel like I could look back on Monday and be like, oh, it's MVS. Why do we get excited about him again?
This is a very interesting comment from a Giants guy crapping on Kadarius Toney.
Well, I mean, that's not crapping on him. I think you would say that. Yeah, no, I know. I feel like you might say that about anyone who joined a team like at that recently. But...
I do think though that there's first off, he kind of played the McCole Hardman role last week against Jacksonville. Right. It looked very similar to what Hardman had been doing. I mean, it's basically a month that he's been with the team at this point, and so can he do enough to be fantasy relevant? I think the answer is yes.
Look at this comment, though. Now, I'm looking at the avatar of the guy making this comment, and he could break me in 4 pieces. Look at that muscle.
But what if that's not him, though?
It's him. No, you're not benching DeAndre Hopkins for Kadarius Toney. No. That's going a little bit too far. Would you bench Rondale Moore for Kadarius Toney?
If Marquise Brown plays, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Justin Watson, by the way, is the guy who really got a boost in playing time. He had not played more than 26% of the snaps in any game. Played 73% of the snaps against the Jaguars after the Juju injury, of course. He only had 1 target, so that's why we haven't really talked about him. But if you're in a super deep league and everybody is rostered, you could take a look at Justin Watson.